All right. Luemas from Chant Down. Welcome to Gray America.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming. Yeah. Congratulations on your upcoming, I guess, a couple months, 12-year anniversary, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Same with you guys, huh?
About a month after us. Yeah. We've been
Yeah,
doing this for a while now. Yeah.
yeah.
So, let's start there. Because we're going to talk about your Sacred Site documentary, which was really cool. I mean, it's interesting to
Thank you.
see because I'm not really too familiar with the circle of people that you had on to make that. I know of them and stuff, but haven't really talked a lot personally to any of them. But
Hmm.
it's just cool to see and people come to that very similar conclusion that we're coming to, about all the structures. But you've gone and looked at them all. So, but I mean, how has we're kind of ending up in the same spot in a lot of ways. How has that journey been over the last 12 years, especially in regards to like ancient mysteries?
Well, like my way of coming out is into this world was I have met two insiders of the system in various forms. One in 1999 and then one in 2008. So I always felt like this information came to me rather than me looking for it, and that's why I got into this because I was kind of exploding with information I wanted to give out, more so about like what's really going on in our world. But what I've always loved and is our ancient mysteries and stuff. So I did include that a little later on in my podcasting, like probably about 2017. So I started in 2013. I was just talking about New World Order stuff and normal like conspiracy minded kind of research. But my passion has always been looking into these ancient mysteries, but I didn't know I was going to go full bore into it, how I did with the documentary. But yeah, it's just been this journey of just collecting information and hearing how people respond to it. And like I said, like I was telling you in pre-show, I didn't even know I was going to do this long. I thought, yeah, 50 episodes, that'll do it. Just get my word out there. But then I just kept going and it became this thing like you guys do, just where it's that thing you do. So
Yeah. Yeah.
even though I have a full-time job. Yeah.
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 Well, how did you do the documentary with a full-time job? I mean, it looked like you put lots of travel time into getting footage. I mean, this isn't just a documentary with a bunch of B footage. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there's some of that, but you go to, a lot of these. I mean, well, tell us what the theme of it is, I guess.
All right. Well, so Sacred Site, it's a documentary revealing megalithic sites around the world known to people and unknown and new emerging sites. But it's a double entendre because that's why I spell the documentary Sacred Site as with your eyes, because we have to have the sight to see this world in the real light that it really is, because the world we've been shown through the institutions of organized society is not the world that we really live in. And that's why I'm always not afraid to throw in our current situation, exposing what's happening and seeing the world with the right eyes, because it's all connected, but it's becoming actually, it's becoming a triple kind of entendre thing. My friends who are in this movie are starting to say things like you need the sight to see the sight, almost like LiDAR, because some of these places are still buried and not so obvious at first. But yeah, my hopes is this documentary was to add new sites to the list of pyramids and megaliths, and really this is just the beginning. Also, the documentary exposes the cover up of our ancient history. This came about through actual trips I took, not to make a documentary, but because I have family kind of all over the world. I was like, well, how far is it from here to Egypt? Okay, well, let's do that. And then, so it's kind of a collection of footage I took, not knowing at first I was going to do a documentary. And then by the time I made it to Egypt, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to make a documentary. I don't know about what yet, but I got all this footage. So it just kind of evolved from there.
What was Egypt like? Did that propel you further into this at all? Or because Darren and I just went there in 2022, was it, Darren? I guess, and
November 22, yeah.
it kind of changed things
Same here.
because. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. What was it?
Did it sort of propel you into this too? Like, did you get a
Yeah.
different view by seeing it in person, Egypt?
Yeah. It really inspired me a lot more to actually go and see these places in person. I feel like there's if you don't see these places in person, it's not the same. As you guys know, you just go there, and it just like inspired me, and like to see how big these things actually are, and just how impossible they all are. So it totally inspired me more once I had gone to Egypt, for sure.
Anything stick out
Uh,
specifically, like as far as something that kind of blew you away that you weren't expecting?
the Serapeum was one of the things that I didn't know much about when I went in there, and that kind of blew my mind. How those giant coffins are bigger than the doorways that they're in are in there, and just how they uncovered it. And these are just polished granite boxes that are huge, and just to think that they were, I think that was Aswan granite. I'm pretty sure it was. So that's like 600 miles away it took to bring it there, and how they did that. I mean, that blew my mind, as well as in Saqqara, the pit underneath the step pyramid. I had no idea that was so deep, and like that put my mind into the frame. Like, okay, they could have built the step pyramid with small blocks, but what kind of tools would it take to dig that pit, that giant pit? You know, that
Which one's the
shaft.
step now? Is that the one with the pottery, or is that the bend?
Yeah, that one does have the pottery down there. The
Yeah,
vases.
so which one's?
Yeah.
So
I
it's
think
like
he's talking about the pit that's got that big granite, that square, that
a big
cube,
square
almost a
tomb
cube
thing?
thing, but that big cube
Yeah.
thing. But then you see up into the pit.
Yeah. When you get underneath the set, or inside the step pyramid, you look down. There's those like cube blocks down below. Yeah, and that's where they have found those vases that they're researching now. Like,
Because the bent pyramid's the one that's right by the red pyramid, right? These ones here, these sort of.
oh yeah,
That
yeah.
sort of thing.
Is that what you got from there?
Well,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, yeah.
Doesn't happen, but it did. Yeah, I got that from the bent pyramid in Egypt. Yeah,
I didn't
I
make
guess the step from the step pyramid.
the step pyramid. Okay.
I shouldn't
Yeah.
tell people because I didn't get in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I know.
Well, we just got this little show here. If it gets to the point where I get in trouble, then whatever. At least I got to go once.
It's a piece of plastic.
Yeah,
If you get in
it's
trouble,
a-
then it's a sign that we're doing better at podcasting.
I
Yeah,
3D printed this, actually, if you can
Yeah.
believe it. I
Yeah.
3D printed this out of my 3D printer as a replica of a piece. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
nice one. So did you do the whole tour then? Did you do the Nile boat and did you get to see the Serapeum and those other sort of spots? So what's the other big one? The other big one would be the what is it? The Osiri Inn? Is that the other big underground one that was buried?
I didn't make it there. Yeah. So what I did is I did Giza, Saqqara, then took a plane to Luxor and did Luxor and Karnak. And because I was with my wife, she wanted to go to the ocean, so we went to the Red Sea and did a trip there. But that was my trip in a whole. So the megalithic stuff was all, me doing all that. But then the Red Sea didn't really have anything, but it's cool. But yeah, but the big, that's the main things I did there. And I mean, you could go back and do a whole different set of things and still not see even half the things that are there. I didn't make it to Aswan or anything.
Yeah. So then what about these pyramids that you're trying to uncover? Like you went to some in Hawaii, you're following like old legends and trying to uncover some pyramids. And I think there was one there that we got to talk about where you found some stones. I mean, I got so many questions around them, but I guess maybe describe some of those trips up through the jungle looking for buried pyramids. And, there's the Bosnia one too, but maybe it's the Hawaiian ones, the one where you found the stone, which I think looked like it wasn't natural to me,
Right.
but
yeah, that's the island of Kauai. So I got intel on this. I didn't actually find it myself, but we had someone who's like, I think it's a pyramid, and then they look at the cardinal points are pointing the right directions, but it's three-sided. So it's definitely an unnatural. It's in the middle of a field. It's not connected to a mountain range. And so my son and I, well, I guess we're all going to get in trouble here anyway. So, but I snuck on private property because it was no choice in the matter. I didn't feel like my view on private property is, if someone's actually using it, I'm not going to go in someone's backyard and trample on stuff. But when it's big tracts of land that no one's doing anything with, I feel like it's kind of fair game. And like, it's just sitting there. So I went. So we snuck, and I didn't know what to think, at first, because we're going up a tree covered hill, and you go, well, this could just be a mountain. And I even said that in the footage, like, yeah, just could be a mountain. I don't really know. But then I get to the top, and I find this carved stone, and I should have brought it inside.
The loose carved stone.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's carved. It's got sides and corners that are really defined. But this was supposed to be a scouting mission, like to see how we could get to it, and we ended up just going for it. And so I wasn't prepared. All I had was a compass. So I put my compass on the stones on top, and the dial turned on every single stone. There was some kind of energy field up there. And we were really tired because I did a camping trip, and we got barely any sleep because of the mattresses we had were very uncomfortable. And so anyway, and I parked the rental car at a place that, I was like, I don't know, it's just going to be safe that long. So I had to get out of there in kind of a hurry. But on my way down, and I didn't film it, there was a perfect corner that I walked down on. I don't know why I didn't film it. I just was exhausted. And I found rocks with carvings on them and stuff. But so when we were done with that footage and I left the island, I was contacted by the same source, and he had talked to a local there that says it's one of 5 pyramids on the island. And then I showed a geologist that stone, and he said it's definitely a carved stone. And the vegetation on that 3-sided structure, pyramid, whatever you want to call it, is all introduced vegetation from the last 200 to 300 years here in Hawaii, because most of Hawaii's vegetation has been brought in, that you see currently has been brought in as introduced to Hawaii for various reasons. So that might have been a bare structure before 200-300 years ago, when all these introduced trees were brought to Hawaii. So yeah, it might have been intentionally buried. I don't know, but it's definitely a promising thing. We're going to go back when I do the sequel, and we're going to hopefully get LiDAR. That's the next step, really. But yeah, it's pretty exciting.
So, but you did film some of the stones there.
Yeah,
that looked. They just didn't look like they were naturally. It was almost like was it like a wall, or the way they were cornered? They were stepped kind of like and I just thought, that doesn't really look natural.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not natural, and
but it's not super megalithic either. I mean,
no, it's not huge stones, but just the fact that there is a pyramid in Hawaii, or multiple, that's something, because it connects this megalithic world, or this pyramid building world, to the rest of the pyramid building world. And I think what I did a lot of research on, there's just pyramids on all kinds of islands. You can go to the Azores, the Canary Islands. Tahiti had one. Captain Cook journaled it in his book. The South Pacific has a few other. Samoa has one, they think. So it's not that crazy to think about that there is pyramids here, but we are the most isolated island chain in the world. So it does make it pretty, hard to find. But if we're going to consider then maybe that's what we're looking as a leftover.
And there it is right there, right? There's your Hawaii right there. But I mean, we're
going to trail of islands coming out from like Japan, where you could have sort of just ticked along and followed.
Yeah, like if you're
take water out of this situation, if the sea level was actually 400 feet lower, then it becomes sort of a chain. Which I wanted to ask you: Did you look in the water around Hawaii? I've never heard anyone saying there's anything in the water around Hawaii, but you'd think that would be a natural spot to have some sort of stuff from before the water came up.
Well, so we ran into a source. Now this is on the Big Island, where we were in search for this other pyramid, and this old Hawaiian auntie told us that there is one underwater in line with the one that we were looking at, but we haven't gotten that far because that's going to take scuba equipment and serious. Like I don't know how to scuba dive. I could snorkel there, but
I'm
that
not interested in
yeah.
that kind of shit, man. I'm like a land Indian through and through. I don't like even being I'm a little like freaked out to even go to Easter Island. Honestly, it's like, we're just gonna be on this little speck of fucking land.
Right here. Look at that. I mean, it's
Are you guys going to go?
yeah.
Yeah, we're going next March. We're doing it as one of our events. Yeah, we're doing an all-inclusive thing out of Chile, out of Santiago for a week. And yeah, I mean, I'm
Look
just
at that. It's on the edge of that whole ridge there, right? Which is similar to
wow.
how Hawaii is just over here on that ridge.
Right.
Yeah.
That the one from Hawaii is called the Emperor Seamount. You can see goes all the way up to the Aleutian Islands of Alaska there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Easter Island kind of freaks me out. I once did a flight from New Zealand to Santiago, and that flight freaked me out because there's nothing between those 2 points. I mean, maybe Easter Island if you're lucky, but if your plane goes,
Right
I
from
mean,
there to there.
yeah.
Yeah, look at that. Hey, that is a long stretch of Atlantic or Pacific
Yeah.
Ocean. Yeah.
12 and a half hours, man. It was
Yeah. I
not
just
enough.
love these maps now. I mean, this is so fascinating that we can see all this, right? I mean, imagine this whole area with 400 feet less water, right? All of
Yeah.
this. I mean, and then over here too. This is where we're
Can
going.
we have one that you can take the water out, Graham?
I don't know. And then we're
Is
going
there
here
a map
too.
like that? Are you guys going to the Azores?
We
Yeah,
gotta get a hold of Randall, because Randall, I swear, Randall has a map that you can like take water out of the equation, and it makes it all look so much different. It's
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
Yeah, we're going to the Azores too this November. Yeah, I mean, we get two trip plugs in just in the interview because a lot of people skip the intro. So yeah, we're going to the Azores. Contact at thecabin.com if you want to. We're going to the Azores actually with Randall Carlson to look for Atlantis.
Very cool. That's awesome.
That's why I'm so excited to talk to you about your documentary, because you were kind of doing what we wanted. I mean, I don't know how much bushwhacking we're going to do. You guys were hacking away some bushes on your trips here, but we're still looking for maybe some evidence. I mean, who knows, right? It is still kind of like there is still the chance you may stumble across something. Like if you were in that, like you found that, like the marks, and those marks remind me of marks I think that might even be on the Azores, the marks you found on those rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know. I've wanted to look up the symbols, so I did look at for Mu, the symbols. Nothing like that, but that could be something more global that we don't know about, these symbols. Yeah. So I did compare it to the symbols I found at the rocks in Bosnia, actually. But they're not the same, but just because there were carvings on rocks, it was interesting enough.
So where would you spend your time on the next? Well, I guess you're doing a sequel anyways. Yeah. So, I mean, where do you think after doing all this, like, where would you put your time to maybe try and uncover something?
Well, we're going to go back to the sites we found in the first, and also in Australia, my friend Triffin is bringing all kinds of new stuff to the table, which is really awesome. And I don't know, I'm probably gonna have to do some crowdfunding or something because I don't have the money, but I mean, I would really like to expand this into the South Pacific and explore this whole move, because there's a lot of things in the South Pacific that are megalithic that most people have never even seen on film. There's some great stuff in Tonga. There's some stuff, Easter Island, of course.
I got to share this again, because when you say South Pacific, you're talking like French Polynesia and all that, or like
French Polynesia, and then Tonga, which would be
right here,
right. And Samoa has the Pulu Mele mound, and there's stuff here and there. And then, of course, if you go to Micronesia, you got Namadal. There's coral pyramids. There's carved. If you go to the island of Guam, there's these crazy little statues. They're called latte stones, and if you ever look them up, they're these huge round things they've carved out of the earth and stacked on top of other rocks. And yeah, it's just, there's a lot there to explore. So I think if willing money coming my way, which who knows where the hell that's going to come from. I would love to include more sites in this area because that fills in more of the Moo mystery, as well as just, it's kind of like what you guys are doing with Atlantis. I'm trying to do over here in the Pacific. So
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Which
man.
would that include Bora Bora? And I guess it does include Mu because it's over between these continents, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
'Cause
it's right
Tahiti
along
had a
that.
pyramid.
It's right along that ridge there. I mean, this whole thing might have been like this whole ridge. You might have been able to
Show
skip
your
from
screen
island.
on
What?
your- show your screen on your
Oh,
ground.
you saw my. I was like, I
These-
was pointing at the
these-
whole.
are these
The latte
stones?
stone.
Those are
Yeah.
the latte stones.
No, you should check out the quarry site if you can. Then it really shows some laser like cutting. Like there's no way that people with chisels and tools would have ever been able to do this. So I mean, yeah, it's just, yeah, if you can find anything like that, that's it's
I'll
pretty
look
crazy.
for the quarry, Graham. You
Yeah.
can carry on.
Well, yeah, I was just showing this ridge here that goes from like there's Easter Island right there. So Santiago, there's this ridge underneath that goes all the way to French Polynesia. I mean, all the way to the other side. So, you know, if they had a few hundred feet, I don't know how much, like 400 feet would do, but you know, don't forget there's the sinking and the raising as well that they talk about with the isostatic depression and all that, where that is a real thing. When the ice melted 12,000 years ago, things did sort of shift elevation wise. So that could have brought up this ridge even more. You know, you could have been island hopping from one continent to the other via this.
Yeah. And you know, all the oral legends in the Polynesian cultures talk about an older culture, a Mu, and other, you know, a history. There you go. Yep, those are that's the quarry. That's, you know, it's pretty crazy.
So they just took that right out of solid stone.
Yeah, and moved
Huh.
it. And I don't even think that's. I've kind of done a little research. I don't even think that's on the same island as Guam. So they had to move these things from this island to Guam and then stack them on those stones you showed.
There's that 2 foot. I swear, there's a 2 foot minimum clearance for whatever tool they were using back then. There's always a gap. I mean, even on Easter Island over that Moai in the Egyptian Aswan quarry, there's that gap. I mean, I really feel like whatever they were doing, they had the minimum clearance.
Yeah.
Was there any sort of, it almost looks like there's those same sort of scooping marks just with stuff growing over it. Did you, because, well, so when you were in Egypt, did you notice this sort of scooping phenomena in some of the places? Is that the same sort of thing here?
I think it is. I definitely noticed it in Egypt, though. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that I didn't have help. I did watch Brian Forrester's videos, and he showed me, or the videos showed me the scoop marks, which maybe I wouldn't have known to look for. But when I went down in Australia and we found that rock wall in Gympie, I noticed scoop marks on those too, the polygonal rock wall. So.
And that was crazy to me, that polygonal rock wall. It looked like it had either been weathered way longer, because we saw a block in Karnak.
Yeah,
it looked like it was like a rectangular granite block that had been eroded for like 20,000 years, or like a long time. Like, but that Australian one blew me away from your documentary. Those marks in the what, do you know what kind of stone that was that those marks were in, and that you found the cut? There's even the cut marks. It's like they quarried blocks out of that.
Yeah. Are you talking about the imprint mark that
The imprint? Yeah. And next to the imprint, that whole area there.
Yeah, that's sandstone. So it's not the hardest of stones, but it's probably like a 4 on the Mohs scale or so.
Yeah.
But whatever that imprint was, that is unique because it definitely wasn't a repeatedly pressed in mark. It's like a one-time pressed into the stone or melted, or, it's a big mystery. I mean, and then my friend Triffin, who was in there, he's talking about a geologist came and saw that, that area is obviously been cut. So whatever the imprint was might have been a stone cutting type of tool, which is really missing from all this. Is like, what did they use for all this? What made the scoop marks, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to think that the stone itself was a completely different hardness, or it was soft back then, or there was some kind of alchemical change in the atmosphere, or or these things were hardened through a catastrophe. I mean, I just finished reading Ragnarok, Age of Fire and Gravel, and it talks about how it seems like these things are have been, there's these stones that have been kind of melted together through they think it was through the tail of being like, you know, exposed to the tail of a comet, like that. There's almost like you know, some of these firestorms are created because the atmosphere is bombarded from cometary tails and stuff like that. I don't know how much of that has changed in the last 150 years with the science, but you know, they were definitely thinking that there was some merging of different types of stones, or hardening of some stones into others, that kind of thing. So it makes me wonder if the environment was so different back then that they could mold these things, you know.
Yeah, I've thought about that too, and I've done some research into things like there's cultures on the earth that talk about a time before the moon, and I've wondered if the moon came into the existence of humanity and changed the composition of this whole planet, and maybe that's what tilted the planet to a 23-degree axis because there's something crazy about that. And of course you can go into the Zulu legends with Credo Mutwa, not just him, I mean it's just like a legend in their culture, talking about these two brothers, Moane and Mapanku, hollowed out the moon, brought it to the earth, and popped a water vapor around the earth. And if you connect that to Genesis, there was a water vapor like thing around the earth, and it's just interesting. You know, I don't know, but I've gone on that research rabbit hole a bit, and it's made me wonder if the earth was just had a different gravity to it or something, a different composition,
Different
how they could,
atmosphere.
how they could carve these stones or move them. I mean, we don't know. That's the thing. You know, the more you research into this, the more questions you have.
Does somebody know? I mean, because I like how you go there too in this documentary, because that's kind of what I'm thinking when like there's a reason why they don't want us to know all this stuff, why they cover it up. There's a lot of reasons actually.
Yeah. And my thoughts about the cover of this is that they tore a chapter or chapters out of our history, really, because we had, I mean, giants in our past. We had elongated skulls. We had crazy looking petroglyphs and geoglyphs, and that shows that this planet was way more diversified in humanoid species, that Homo sapiens sapiens must have shared this planet with others. I mean, you could possibly dismiss the crazy petroglyphs in places like Grand Gallery, Utah, as indigenous on psychedelics, maybe, I don't know, but you can't dismiss elongated skulls and giants. And so I think there's definitely missing chapters, and I feel like that this is why I've diverted this information so much on my own show, is because I feel like it's one of the biggest important things that we need to know about is our human origins, and that there was an advanced global megalithic culture on the earth that did this advanced construction and built crazy things we can't do today, and our human timeline is really much different to what we've been told. And so I feel like that somebody does know these. I feel like there's secret societies that, you know, they talk about, they used to rape the mind of the shaman and then kill him, that kind of thing. I feel like the secret societies came along with the Crusades and went to some of these places and took the information and kept it to themselves. I mean, and we've seen that in modern day. We've seen that with the Iraq War. They took the U.S. military, raided some museums. ISIS destroyed ancient Sumerian tablets. So, I mean, the cover-up's big, and it's worldwide, because a lot of these places, like, it goes down to the line of those who established our education system and established archaeology. You know, why haven't they completely excavated places like Tiwanaku and Pumupunku? You know, they found underground caverns and with ground penetrating radar, or what's under Stonehenge, like,
or even
all the,
Egypt, you know,
yeah,
like they
let
know there's
alone
a bunch of
Giza.
stuff in Egypt and they don't even bother.
Right. Yeah. Let alone Giza. I mean, that's those new findings lately. I don't. What do you guys think about that? Anyway, I was going to ask you that, or I haven't really talked with many people about those new findings.
It's tough because I've got people that I respect on either side of it. Some say it's bull crap, and others say it's there's something there. What it is remains to be seen. I mean,
Well, we all know there's something underneath Giza, though. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
for
the thing.
sure,
It's
for
just,
sure.
it's just how they get to what they showed from what they scanned. Like, I don't really like how it's gone from this to that, but I know there's stuff. There's, I believe there's tunnels all over the plateau, like from pyramid to pyramid to pyramid. I mean, you can
Yeah.
see the pyramids when you're at one, you can see the other one, then you can go to that one and see both sides, and it's all on that big plateau. So, I think they're all connected underground. I mean, because we know how crazy the tunnels are in Saqqara, and I mean, who knows how much is connected underground.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And that just to know that hasn't been all excavated, or at least to our knowledge, at least for the public. Or Gobekli Tepe. One of the people that's in my documentary is Mike Collins, and he went there with what's that guy's name? Jimmy Corsetti. And I don't know if you've seen those videos, and how they built stuff right over some of those T-pillars that is for the walkway, for the canopy that's around it, and they're not excavating. They're not even
I
attempting.
think that might have changed very recently. I don't know if Corsetti caused such a fuss on X and on the internet that they actually have started digging again or something. I'm not sure, but I haven't kept completely up to date, but I felt like something was shifting there.
Yeah, maybe so, maybe. But it's just interesting that's the cover up. It's like it is a cover up, because I mean, just the coming down to the description that the archaeologists, what they think and how they think all this was made with copper tools or this or that. It's like, that's just crazy. It's obvious that, and many academics are pretty arrogant. I mean, they think they went to the greatest schools in the world and the knowledge base of the world, and they think there's nothing left to explore because that's what they've been told. And I just think that they're in a closed system of their own, and it's up to people like us kind of really to do the exploration and do the job ourselves, because they're certainly not doing it.
So from a skeptical point of view, like if I was playing devil's advocate, what's the big deal if people knew? Like, why would they cover it up? I mean, what's that argument?
Well, I would say just because I think they're trying to cover up that there was an advanced civilization in the past, and it wasn't a linear progression from hunter gatherers to civilization to what we live in today. And I think also, when you take away people's origin points, then they don't know who they are, where they are, and it just really, like, it scrambles it scrambles our identity as humanity. And I think that was done on purpose. And I think just human origins in general. I mean, I look into, you can look into Darwin's theory, you can look into creation theory, and it's like neither of them quite ring true to me, and then you could go into, I like the work of Lloyd Pye, he kind of looked at all that and put some good stuff together. But like, yeah, I mean, this stuff, if we don't know our origins, we don't know what we're doing here in the present. And I think that's where they want us. They just want us to be in this rat race, making digits on screen or paper, and just, I don't know what kind of energy we're feeling somewhere. I've thought about, like, what are we? Is it like the Matrix? Are we powering some kind of battery? But whatever, I don't know. But you just take a look at our existence, and something's wrong. We're not connected to what we should be.
And the cataclysm aspect too is important to hide from us, I think. I mean, that's going to probably come out before they can. I don't think they can hold a lot of this back anymore, to be honest. I think it's going to come out, and it might be all part of a UFO disclosure that brings this whole reality to a different sort of thing. But the cataclysm, they don't want us to realize how they need the uniformitarianism climate change narrative on us. They don't want us to think that we're apt to a cataclysm anytime. Anytime we can just be wiped off the face of the earth. I mean, I think that's the other thing they want to keep from us. And then Curtis in the chats here says mud, flood, global apocalypse 200 years ago. Yeah, those are interesting theories. I think there was a mud, flood, global apocalypse, but I don't think it was 200 years ago myself. But
when do you think it was?
I don't know, actually. I don't know.
Older than that?
Oh, yeah.
Has anyone ever carbon dated some of this mud, like, to see if it's 200 years older?
I don't know. I'm sure they have, but that could be where they get the till from the glaciers, from the younger Dryas, right? When the glaciers melted. I mean, I'm kind of stuck on the mainstream timeline of younger Dryas, 12,800 years ago or whatever, that we were under all this ice. I mean, I know there's a whole bunch of conspiracies that are saying that those timelines are off, like with what's his name? Oh, who am I thinking of, Darren? It'll
The
come to me. Yeah, we had him on the show, and now I'm gapping out. But
RKX.
RKX, yeah,
You got
Jason
like
Brashears, who's he's got a whole following now, and that this is all. And it might be like what Curtis is saying in the chats there about a different timeline, But he's got really interesting thing. I mean, four books that he talks about, ancient books, point to a cataclysm, which could be the collapse of the vapor canopy or this mud flood apocalypse. I think it's 3359 BC or 3329 BC or something. So that's an interesting date to me because it does correspond with other things as well. But it might be more like more more like when the younger Dryas happened.
It could be, except for like those buildings. You can go in any old city. Like I live in Honolulu. It's not too old as far as architecture, but some of the older cities on the mainland US and
Yeah.
places, the first floor is buried, or in places in Europe too. So there is something to that, but I'm not
Yeah,
saying that it was a huge catastrophe that changed the entire earth and reset its civilization. I don't believe that with the mud flood personally, in my so far research of it anyway. Yeah.
Doesn't it have to be though? I mean, if we don't know about it, or
You what? Sorry.
doesn't it have to be if we don't know? Like, if it's not part of the history books, doesn't it have to be sort of wipe things out to a certain extent? I mean, the weird thing is that you got this sediment, like Easter Island. These statues are buried in shit.
Karnak.
Kepi's buried and stuff. I mean, you'd have a hard time convincing me that they buried the statues on Easter Island on purpose, because that'd be, you're carting stuff up to the top of the mountain. But so you get into that, like, was that all the same thing? Could that all have been the same thing? And if it is, how do you get the mud up to the top of Easter Island? And then you start looking into some of Hapgood stuff, and some of it sounds crazy, but then you look and they found all this stuff. They found all these bones crammed into a cave, and it's like, well, how did this shit get lions and shit up in the caves in the UK and Scotland? And it's like, well, how did that shit get there? And it's like, the only way you can see is if it was like everything got washed over by, so it's not even a mud flood. It's like everything got just washed over with the ocean almost, and whatever sediment,
like a pole shift completely, right?
something like that. Yeah,
Or it changed the whole face of the earth, like half the earth.
for just a second, and that was enough and the water kept going.
Do you think that was in that time 200 years ago, or are we talking?
No, I think this is what happened before the pyramids. I would say that would be like a before the pyramid thing.
Yeah, I think that too. I mean, but this more recent thing.
I don't think before the pyramids. I think those go. I think those
before, like,
or
after the pyramids might like be the not 200 years ago. This would be what wiped out whatever civilization built them fucking things.
And then, of course, you have the in the Sphinx enclosure, the watermarks, and that would probably be that same event. I would think too, a long time ago. The water line.
Yeah, well, I mean, so our buddy, the ethical skeptic, he's done this whole breakdown on how there's those lines up on the top of the pyramid, the top of the Great Pyramid. There's this specific karst erosion that can only happen from water. So he's convinced that there was water up to that level of the Great Pyramid for, I think he said it would have to be at least 50 years or something like that. But that would put the Sphinx completely underwater. So
wow.
I don't know how much that would sort of change that thing. It's hard to think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. But you must think, though, that the elites of this world must know this story and must have had some things carry over from this reset. in order to even come out with the power that they've had for so many generations, you would think that these secret societies would have a
Yeah.
lot more knowledge of this.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that this book was written in the 1880s, and this is where I think they were. This is I think where some of the modern mud flood myths have come, but they were talking about this back then. So this is like what they call the drift or the till, and he says this till is so tough that engineers would much rather excavate the most obdurate rocks than attempt to remove it from their path. Hard rocks are more or less easily assailable with gunpowder and numerous joints and fissures. Let me just see here. I don't know if this is a good one to read, but it's basically here's a cut of this till overlaid with boulder clay, right? So what they say is this is covering like half the earth. Like there's a massive area that's covered with this drift, but nowadays we call it a till. In this till or hard pan are found some strange and characteristic stones. They are boulders, not water-worn, not rounded as by the action of waves, and yet not angular. For every point and projection had been ground off. They are not very large, and they differ in this and other respects. So they're finding it's all in a weird, like, it laid down. It didn't lay down like it settled down over like thousands of years or millions of years. It's like it was just placed there, right, through a cataclysm.
Yeah.
So I think that's like what they're describing back in the 1880s is like the mud flood. It's just, maybe there was recent ones too in more localized areas. I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe it wasn't so severe because I talked to somebody on the podcast about this before. I have a relative who was literate in the early 1800s, wrote about life and wrote about things, never mentioned a mud flood, never meant. So maybe it wasn't as big of a deal as people are making it out to be now. I think the focus on the big cataclysms is more important anyway, because anything that reset the earth, anything that changed, had that big of a change, that's what I'm interested in mainly, but yeah.
So he says above this boulder clay we find sometimes beds of loose gravel and sand and stones mixed with the remains of man and other animals. So it's all mixed together. They all have the appearance of being later in their deposition and of having been worked over by the action of water and ice. This then is briefly stated the condition of the drift. It is plain that it was the result of violent action of some kind. This action must have taken place upon an unparalleled and continental scale. And so and this is scientists and stuff, right? I mean, these are from Popular Science Monthly and all these. And I think it's before they started to sort of clamp down and cover up. They did some good science in the 1800s. But now they're just, now they don't want us to know.
Oh yeah, and then you can go into all the giant bones discovered in the 1800s, and giants were kind of a mainstream topic in mainstream media. Now they're, so it seems like there was more honesty then. More, yeah.
Even though, like you said, the secret societies knew about it. I mean, I think what you're talking about as well, that in the Crusades, the Templars probably went like Randall talks about this a lot, where they went to the Middle East and came back with secrets. They built the cathedrals afterwards. Is the cathedral building the last sort of manifestation of that secret in our culture?
That's an interesting thing. So I don't know if you had seen the director's cut of my documentary, but I also went to Malta, and Malta.
Oh shit! No, you know what? I saw the Rumble one, I guess. So yeah, Malta is a place that I've been thinking we should go to.
Yeah, so that place is just layers of history there, but the people in charge of that place would be the Knights of Malta. And I just did a show with William Ramsey about the Knights of Malta. We didn't discuss this ancient stuff as much, but the fact that they these really ancient things there that are megalithic as well. And then you have on top of that, you have this secret society that still controls the world on a large scale that we don't even fully realize, the Knights of Malta.
Yeah. I mean, look at that. What a spot that is, right between Italy and Tunisia there.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that big plateau there, right? The Malta's like that, just that little peak that's left on that big plateau.
Yeah. Yep. And the I don't know if you guys have looked into the cart ruts, but I mean, there are cart ruts that go underwater there. So that makes perfect sense that the sea levels had to have been, lower.
Somebody was telling us about Malta had the biggest cuts, like the circular cuts maybe or something like that. Did you see those cuts? Or Was it almost like tube drills, massive tube drills?
Yes, I got those on film. Yep. They have some.
They look pretty cool.
Yeah.
What water do those ruts go into then?
They go right into the Mediterranean.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that'd be
I mean, I didn't go in the water to look if they go like deep down, but I think people have already proved that, but I'm not sure. But they also go right off cliffs too, and it just seems like why? We don't even know what the cart ruts are for. I mean, I haven't heard any good explanations yet in my research, but
Well, and it's fuzzy too. When you zoom into some places, like some places you can see more. You go into Malta and it's just fuzzy, right? Even though it's shallower. So
right, yeah,
you know,
but yeah, and they found elongated skulls there too, with no sagittal suture marks. They have them in their museum, and actually in that museum, it even says on the wall, "Are these aliens?" Like I was surprised to see that, but I mean, I don't know, but certainly it certainly be painful for the woman to give birth to those babies because their skull doesn't fold in like a regular human.
what does the mainstream say about those? Do they just ignore it, or do they have but they say they were tying bands around their head or some bullshit?
Most of the time, but as far as the Malta ones, I never really heard any explanations like I read on the wall that they don't know. At least they're honest or pretending to be honest. Where a lot of the other elongated skulls, yeah, they say, oh, it's just the native people binding
trepanning.
Yeah, just binding skulls and trying to. But why would they do that in the first place? Like that's the thing.
Well, to honor the gods or the aliens.
Yeah,
that were here in the past.
Yeah,
the visitors.
I mean, it had to be something big to want to do that to your own head, your own kid's head. I don't know.
I mean, it could be for looks. It does look pretty cool. I mean,
look smarter.
Look smarter. Yeah.
Yeah.
See how pointy you get your head.
Was it? Oh, so
go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think there was a lady, and it could be BS, but there was a lady, Karen Hoods, who came out. She worked in the
Karen Hudez, yeah.
Hudez, yeah. She talked about the elites having elongated skulls behind the scenes, and that's why the Pope has the martyr hat.
Karen, we had her on. She blew our minds back in like 2014.
No way! Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the one.
She started talking about all this crazy stuff. Like, this was way before Pizzagate and all that. And she was basically talking, and we were just like, Flora, this is like our 5th episode. So we're just like, what is happening? We want to talk about Bigfoot and shit.
We were blown away. We're like, child trafficking back then. It was pretty crazy.
That's crazy. Wow. I don't even know if you can get a hold of her.
In front of it. She was way out in front of it. It's crazy.
Did she disappear off the face of the earth?
I don't know where she went.
I don't know where she went. I was actually thinking the other day that we should have her on again and see where she's at these days. But
episode 24, Karen Hudez, famed whistleblower of the corruption of the World Bank, chats with Graham and Darren about the latest indicators, what's happening to the whistleblowers, geopolitics, the financial system, and other conspiracies that will make you wonder what is really going on here.
What a cool guest.
We were too stupid at that time to realize how great of a guest we had. Like, I think it was almost, it was a joke to us. It was like, it was way too much. We were way too fresh for that level of a conspiracy. I mean, at that time, we probably weren't even like questioning the 9/11 narrative or anything. We were just,
oh, wow. Oh, yeah.
No, we were there.
We probably were to a certain extent, but we were also just like,
we weren't ready to go that deep. I mean, sometimes it takes years to get into these things.
Well, also to be able to be a good voice, a good host in return to some of these guests. Like I had Max Egan as my 10th episode, and I don't think I was really prepared to have him on. He was like way ahead of me, So
yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I just sent you her profile there, and she's on X still. So,
oh wow.
Yeah. Oh, is she? Well, there
you
go. I'll see if we can have her on the show again. I mean, we
link,
are another show. We could almost like keep up with her now.
Yeah, the link from the show notes worked from 2014, so that's a good sign.
Really?
Yeah. It went right from our website to Twitter from 2014. So
How'd you manage to not
like-
get kicked off?
yeah. So what do you plan on doing with the LiDAR then? Do you think you're gonna be able to get some, rent some, or how are you gonna go about that? I mean, it seems to be getting more and more popular as we go along here every month. So
Well, we looked into it. My friend Zach, who's in the documentary too, I think he's looked into that you can get a drone that can carry a lot, and the LiDAR is getting cheaper and cheaper. I don't know how good the smaller, but I think $800 was a LiDAR you can put on a drone, but all the drones, the drone I own and my friend owns, they're too small to carry it. So you have to buy another drone too. And,
yeah.
you're looking at about $2,000, but,
And then you got to worry about permits, I guess, for the drones too and stuff like that. Or
I don't know. Yeah,
maybe
that's a good
not.
question. But
I mean, where you were, you should be able to fly. You did fly a drone where you were, right?
right. We did. Yep. Yep. So we got this questionable spot on the Big Island. We don't know yet if it's, it's inconclusive, but we would like to go back with LiDAR to check that spot out. And a lot more things have emerged. When I was told by my friend Seb that there might be a pyramid on the Big Island, I was like, oh, okay. I'll just, throw that in the documentary. That'll be cool. I didn't realize what door I was opening, and all this stuff is just fell into my lap. So it's great, but it's like we need better tools for the job.
Like what? Like getting people that are like in a way, like giving you more information, or
Yeah. And spots. I don't want to reveal it too much here just yet, but there's a spot where there was one, and they may have left some blocks, and those blocks were used to build something else important out here, and more spots where there are other ones, and so we got to check them all out. And some buried history here that has been completely forgotten about, some writings from the 1800s. It's starting to pile up. Like what I thought, well, maybe this is one lone pyramid. We'll go check it out. That'll be a day trip. No way. It's like huge.
it's turning into a huge project in itself. You can just do one Hawaii, a sequel on Hawaii only, probably.
Right. But then all this Australia information is coming my way. So who knows? The sequel might just end up being Hawaii, Australia, but it could. I would like to expand it to the South Pacific. We'll see. Crowdfunding. I mean, I don't make enough to do all those trips. The trips I did do on the documentary were, kind of visiting family places and being able to go, oh, okay, I'm not too far from there. How much is that flight? Okay, let's do that. But to do it just for this, solely for the documentary, that's going to take some money.
Yeah, exactly. Do you get some time off for your job? Like, is it pretty flexible? Can you get some good chunks off, or
unpaid? Yeah, it's just unpaid.
Okay. Well, we should keep in touch. Maybe we can work something out between your trips and our trips and stuff like that. And
well, yeah, I mean, what you guys are doing is really cool too. I didn't know that you guys were doing the Azores and Randall Carlson and all that. That's awesome. So it's like,
yeah, in Easter Island, and we're always sort of looking for a way to film it or do something with it. So yeah, if that's something you're doing already, then maybe we can help each other out or work together somehow.
Yeah, our plan was to go to Easter Island, and then COVID happened, and they quit the flights from Tahiti to Easter Island. So the only way from where I'm at in the world is to go all the way to South America just to fly back out to Easter Island. So I've been kind of discouraged by that, I guess,
Well, yeah. I think you have to go there to do customs now, right?
To Santiago or to Chile?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. It used to be simple. I could go to Tahiti in 5 hours from here, and then another 5 hours to Easter Island.
Oh yeah, Tahiti is like halfway there, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Take a boat. You must be pretty well right there. Maybe you could just, go in a canoe.
Paddle like the Polynesians did.
Going to read canoe. See if you can make it over there.
That's a lot of open ocean.
You might not ever hear of me again, but I'll give it a shot.
Almost certainly wouldn't. I mean, no offense, but that seems like a tall order. It's probably a lot of open ocean between Hawaii and Easter Island.
No way would I ever do that. There is a kid from here, though. He did a solo adventure from here to Tahiti. on a sailboat and sailed to the South Pacific. He's only 19. I mean, it can be done, but that's definitely not my cup of tea. I'm not doing that. No way.
No, that's a bit much. What was your favorite place? What was out of all the places you've been, which one was kind of just, if someone was only going to go to one place out of all the places you've been, where would you send them?
Oh God, I don't even know. Maybe Peru, but then, I mean, okay, so the most surprising place was Bosnia, and I'm not even certain that's a pyramid. Like a lot of people say, I don't know, but the energy of the spot when I went there is no joke. Like there's something there, and I don't know what it is, and I'm not one to buy into that kind of like new age, like, ooh, do you feel it too, kind of thing. No, I wasn't even looking for it, and it hit me. So that was interesting. That was different, and there is megalithic sites kind of near that spot. So, but to say that it's a pyramid, I have no idea, But yeah, I don't know. Peru, though, to me is a whole world of exploration. Egypt too, but one thing about Egypt, as you guys probably know, is you get sick of being hassled by people, like
Oh, yeah.
It's
like
like
a bit much. It's all a bit much there. Just
yeah.
Yeah, I like your style, man. Hacking yourself through the bushlands of Hawaii, looking for pyramids.
Yeah, nobody's bothering us. Exactly.
But I mean, there's a whole untapped. I mean, there's somebody else that we had on that was doing that too. There's all that untapped resources in lower southern Mexico, and I don't know if it goes below Mexico, but the Yucatan. Is the Yucatan part of Mexico, or is that separate? I think
no,
it's
that's Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there's just hundreds and hundreds of pyramids in old cities that haven't even been uncovered yet in there. So they're doing like this original exploration too.
There's what is it? Chichen Itza or
Tulum?
No. I don't know. I think it's Palenque. It's like 90 or 2% cover uncovered or something like that. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So how do people watch the documentary?
Well, at the moment, so right now I have it off of YouTube because of I have a streaming service maybe interested in it, and if that's the case, I can't have it released on YouTube because then they won't take it. So it's an awkward point in which hopefully it gets on to a streaming service. If not, then I'll put it back on YouTube. But currently, the theatrical versions on Rumble, my Rumble channels, Chant It Down. But if they want to see my director's cut, which includes 2 more chapters, talk about giants too, that's on Patreon, my Patreon channel. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, we'll put links to all that in the show notes, and yeah, that's good. I recommend it. It's a pretty good documentary. I liked it.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah.
It's just inspiring, It's kind of like, you could sort of go for that adventure and maybe find something one day, right? I mean, who knows?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the fact that we found anything at all is actually pretty crazy, because they act like they've found everything in the world, but they haven't. So
no, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, It's like there's stuff still to explore. There's so many answers we need to have. So I mean, I could spend a lifetime just doing that and not even do any more podcasts, but I love doing podcasts too. So Chant It Down is my podcast in case anybody.
Yeah. Where can people get all that stuff? The Chant It Down podcast. Do you have a website?
Yeah. chantitdownradio.com. And then the website totally forgot to plug it, for the documentary is sacredsite.info. So yeah, that's important because that's where they can go straight to the Patreon link and straight to there's some behind the scenes stuff on there too. So sacredsite.info, but for the podcast, chantitdownradio.com.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
And let's be in touch.
Nice to finally meet you.
Yeah.
Let's be in touch. See if we can collaborate on something else.
But yeah, it'd be actually cool to meet somewhere in the world and do a collab for.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Exactly. Totally.
Yeah. We'll see.
All right, Luemas.
All right, buddy.
Okay.
Take care.
Come back anytime.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
And that was our chat with Luemas. We're not going to have much of an outro because we got another show right away, but check out grimerica.ca, grimericaoutlawed.ca, adultbrain.ca, and contact@thecabin.com for all those trips that we were talking about. That. Other than that, we love you guys. Thanks for listening. and we will see you next week.